waking world is shaped by dreams. Dreams and nightmares that I create and which I must control.
He's out there looking for me, isn't he?
Can you imagine the damage he could do?
I need your help. If dreams disappear, then so will humanity.
I could do without dreams for a while. I haven't had a decent night's sleep in ages.
I'm not gonna stop until I've reshaped this world.
Tell us what power of dreams you have.
I thought about giving up, but I have a job to do, and I do it.
Things have changed.
Your eyes will tell me everything. Every thought, every feeling.
My creations do not walk amongst the living, killing mortals for pleasure.
Oh, you don't think dreams can die? Let's find out.
Nightmares do not belong in the waking world.
Oh, it turns out I fit right in.
Dreams don't die.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
I will say this though, that trailer is actually way more hype than the show, and you know what? That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, that trailer was wow. That was the Comic-Con trailer, I believe. That's really what got me super hyped for the show. Welcome to Earth2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and dreams never die. It's your host Mo Crosby, alongside with Roy. We are back to talk Netflix's WB show Sandman. Even though WB right now is crazy, but like this was heat.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do we know how successful it's been? It's now in like Netflix's top 10,
right?
But like, what does that mean
to anybody, right? Outside of Netflix, like, what does that really mean? First things first. What did you think? Oh, welcome back. We haven't seen you since Ms. Marvel's finale, so welcome back.
Happy to be back as always.
Right. But first, like, what did you? The show was done. You finished. You watched all 10 episodes, I believe. Yeah, it is 10 episodes
in one day. So
listen, I don't know how you did it. I started it, fell asleep, took a nap, woke up, and then started over, and I was up till about 4 a.m. But how did you do it?
I got up at like 9-ish, which again, I'm on summer vacation as a teacher. Fantastic. And just mainlined it. Like I told my wife at the beginning, like I asked her, it's like, do you need the TV? Like, and like I watched like 2/3 of it on the TV, and then my wife wanted to play Assassin's Creed, so I watched like the last 3 or 4 episodes on my phone. And like this is just how I operate as a person. Like if you let me binge, like short of like work or professional or personal responsibilities, I'm just gonna binge. And that's what I did with this show. I mean, good and bad shows I have binged. My TLDR is that this is a good but not great adaptation of Sandman. Okay. But I also don't know what a great adaptation of Sandman would be.
Right. I mean, there is the audiobook version on Prime. Taron Egerton, I think, plays Dream. My TLDR is this is 10 out of 10. And I will say this before I get attacked. 10 out of 10 because I am 100% a Neil Gaiman mark.
Okay.
I thought I wanted American Gods to be like the best thing on TV. I wanted it so bad to be the best thing ever, and it wasn't. I mean, it started out, season 1 was top tier, and then it just fell, after like the thing with Orlando Jones, I believe.
Jones,
the thing
right?
with him,
the guy who did he play?
Nancy.
Anansi, okay, yeah.
And so once that kind of went
Then
away,
Gillian
and
Anderson
then-
left too, right?
yes, yeah, and then I think they had someone else play her character. She wasn't, Technical Boy. I thought was really good, but yeah. So I wanted, and then I kind of lost faith in Neil Gaiman's adaptations. Matter of fact, I'm such a Neil Gaiman mark. I think what's the name of that movie with Charlie Cox in it? I think it's 10 out of 10.
What movie is Stardust?
Yeah,
Stardust is like fine, but just like Stardust, the comic / novel is also fine. Like it's not. Like,
I thought the movie was 10 out of 10.
Is Charlie Cox really in that? I'll have to rewatch that.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
before Daredevil. So and then Good Omens happens, and I'm like, yeah, I'm back. And I think Good Omens is good because of the cast, right?
Yeah, I mean, arguably, it's
they play off each other so well. When you watch their interviews, you're like, yo, I really like these guys together. And so that's why I'm like, and to be honest, I think that's why Good Omens was good. I don't think the story or whatever is that great. It's just the cast just is amazing. In this, however, I think cast is good, like really good. Tom Sturges is right.
Tom Sturges he grew on me. I didn't necessarily like. Maybe it might have been his voice.
Which I think I don't think that was his voice. I think it was like modulated or something.
Yeah,
right?
Whatever they did for his it took me a while to grow on me. A couple of the like actors, like Tom Sturges as Morpheus. I don't know the actress's name, but who played Lucienne. Like she grew on me. Like by the end of the series or the season, like I really liked her.
Right.
And like the way they kind of reshaped the character a little bit from the books.
Right.
And like I mean. Like I could drop the hot. Like I did not like Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, which we can maybe talk about later.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that.
But like, like I liked the woman they cast as Death, and I thought the actors who played Rose, elevated Rose, who's kind of a character that I always wanted to like in the comics.
And she does really nothing in the comics, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yo, I really care about her right now. Like, it's so I think a lot of the cast,
a lot of the cast is really good.
Yeah, like the heavy lifting in this. I think I'm with you on Death's character. I think I like Boyd Holbrook in general. I just like him as an actor, and I thought what he brought to Corinthian was kind of amazing.
Oh yeah, Corinthian was like way uplifted the material from the
10 out of 10. Yes,
like
10 out of 10.
He was easily, I think, Kay and Death. I think were the
best,
strongest.
I would have loved. Okay, we're kind of getting into that territory, so I feel like we might as well. I would have loved to see more of Desire.
Yeah, I think Desire was also really good. Like,
really good. Yes,
I think they gave us the right amount of Desire
just for now, right?
For now, I mean, obviously, like it's hard to separate like Sandman, like the whole story from this like one season, right? Because like we're gonna get a lot of Desire over time.
Yes.
And I think the more you keep them like kind of like a little bit more limited, and like you kind of builds to where Desire goes. But I think the casting of the actor was really good. The costuming was really good. Like, the way they updated the character for 2022, like I think is just like utterly well done.
Yeah,
I don't know what they did with Despair though. Despair, whatever.
Despair was kind of boring, but I feel like again with so what I did, just me saying I feel like I needed more Desire was because I liked looking at. I'm not gonna lie to you, I like looking at. I feel like the actor and just her Desire's what would you call it, layer was just so well done.
Oh
Colors
yeah,
were great.
One of the best layers. Actually, even better than the Dreaming.
Yeah, way better than the Dreaming. So I thought that was fun. I would just wanted to see more of that. But I think with Despair, again, just like you said, I feel like we're gonna get more. So what we got was like a taste. I don't know if I like the taste, but I feel like we'll see more. Maybe.
I think Despair is one of those. I mean, this might just be something that, like when I said this was good, not great. Like I think Despair is like a character that's like really difficult to put into live action in a way that's either not like goofy or gross. Right. And that's kind of like I think a problem that the series has, which is like for me, I think a great adaptation of Sandman is going to have like Lord of the Rings Amazon budget, where they just
Correct.
you just like the U.S. you set up in a U.S. Treasury and they just print money and you get to make whatever you want, right?
Right.
Or you do something that's like so wild that it's not like a direct adaptation of the comics. This
Correct.
tries to go somewhere in between.
Yes, it does.
And I think it succeeds at that. But I think it's also like I would have loved to have actually done this show or talk to someone. Maybe I'll see when the students in a few weeks. Like, would this grab you if you didn't care about Sandman? Like, I think they're trying to do that. Like,
right.
But like, as someone who's like lived with this comic since I was in middle school, maybe early high school.
Yeah, it was
like
it's old.
It ended in 96, and I think I picked it up in like 98, 99. And I love Sandman like a lot. It's like it really changed how I think about comics and literature. Like it hit me at that time. So because like Mo, you and I are both like late 90s, early 2000s nerds, right? Like,
yes,
you could not escape.
No,
Sandman
you couldn't. Like in that era, like Sandman was the thing. Like everybody was talking about it.
Even Wizards magazine liked it, which you would not have happened today.
I don't think anybody knows Wizards. I don't think. I feel like most of the people that watch the show would know, right? But I don't think like your students would know Wizards.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't even know if my students like know what the Sandman. Like even the ones that are like nerdy, right, or like the MCU or like the DCU, right? Like the MCU. For the good, I think actually like changed comic book fandom,
right?
And like brought a whole bunch of new people like out of I don't know what the right word is, but like into the forefront, right? People just not just like me, right, being the forefront of it. But the question is like these younger generation, like is Sandman still relevant to them? I have no idea. Like I've never had a student that's like into literature and comics. I've talked to them, like be like I was reading the Sandman, Mr. Rogers, right? Like the way it's. In college, for example, in the early 2000s, there were tons of people I'd run into who were comic book fans who were like, I love Sandman.
Right. And I think
I just don't know if that's the case.
To your point, which why I think this is a 10 out of 10 adaptation is because I feel like this has a chance to grab, the young comic book people and kind of people like, yo, this is really what was hot, back in the day. This is the comic, like this is the like quintessential, like if someone tries to get you into comics, like go read Sandman. And it's kind of like if someone did try to get me in the comics right now today saying go read Sandman, cuss you out because like that is a lot to take in. Like, can you start me off with like Superman or something like?
Well, you have to love like you could give it to someone who like loves literature and be like, you want to know what comics can do? Here's the Sandman.
Right. This and as a Neil Gaiman mark, I know like he can be a little bit much.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not a little bit much, like a lot bit much. Like he can be very much, but I think this is this is in my opinion where like, oh, like my God, like this is prime Neil Gaiman, right?
This is him at the peak of his powers.
And everything else is like, okay, you're doing a little too much, but this is prime Neil Gaiman. But I was very scared, and which is why I say 10 out of 10. I was very scared about this adaptation. Again, one, Netflix, we know how they can be. But two, because of the world building in the comic, right? Because of the world that's in the comic, I'm like, I was with you. Like, will they get the money that they need to build out like some of the sets and just some of the things that this show will need to thrive? And I thought coming out the gate, I thought they did that. Like, episode 1 starts off showing you like the dreaming, and CGI be damned. It looked good. It
looked good. It did a lot. It just it wasn't interactive.
No.
Right? Like
and
that's the
I
thing.
Feel like they did that on purpose because again, I feel like they had a budget and they're like, if we decide to go into, which I think next season they might, depending on the success of the show, next season they might go into it and be like, yo, give us more money. Like you said, we're gonna just give you guys buckets of money. Like we're just gonna roll Brinks trucks into the set. Like that, I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Next season, they can get away with not. I mean, they'll have. I don't know. Should we talk like it? Like this, the
we might at this point. Yeah,
I'll try to be vague rather than specific, right? Because the last episode like set up, right? Like Seasons of Mist, which is obviously what they're going to spend next season.
Correct.
Like adapting one of the most famous and popular stories. Like there's going to be demons, so they have to spend the money on that.
Money on that, yes.
But they don't. It doesn't have to be interactive.
No.
Right? Like you don't have to have Morpheus really like interacting with the CG characters. The way when they get to a what's it called? It's not Brief Lives. That's my favorite Sandman story. But what's the one between that? The one about Barbie, who's in this season.
Yeah.
That requires like you got to spend the money to have CG creatures that interact with the humans, which they don't really do in this, except for Matthew.
Right.
And he's just a bird.
A bird, like, right.
That's not a fantastical bird besides the fact he talks.
No, yeah.
Right.
And I think the only fantastic beast in this show was the one Barbie was talking to.
Yeah, which is an important figure like later in the story.
Right. You haven't gotten to that yet, to the meat and potatoes of that. But again, I say the casting of the show, the look of the show, and then I really think you needed Morpheus to elevate the show, and I think he did. Maybe not in and I think the other part of what made this 10 out of 10 to me was the way they broke up the stories, right? Yeah. In my opinion, I feel like you do it every 3 or 4 episodes felt like a different volume.
Yeah, they were literally so
pretty much, and you kind of need to do that to make this successful, and I think it worked. So again, while I can understand why for you it's good, not great, but I feel like for someone that's wanted this for so long, I think they hit what I needed them to hit to make it a really, really good series, or good to great series for me. Again, you needed Morpheus to knock it out the park, and I feel like he did. The voice thing kind of grew on me. I was like, what are they doing with the voice? It was very weird because I've heard him speaking. I don't think that's what he sounds like. Yeah. If we go episode by episode, right, and just like touch points.
Sure. So we're just talking about the first one, the Burgess episode. Yeah.
Yes. So the first episode, Charles Dance, Game of Thrones. I will never not call him
Tywin.
Tywin, yeah. So he does what he does, captures Dream, totally misses out on death, captures Dream, and traps him. And I thought Boyd just sold every scene.
Like he is like he and Death, and he's got to be stronger just because he's in more episodes than Death,
right?
But I think he turns like Corinthian in the graphic novel is like a fine villain,
really, like, just okay.
He's fine, right? But like this, he like elevates it to like all
at
the
a
episodes
point was
that focus on him
kind of rooting for him. I didn't want him to die because I just wanted to see more of him. I wanted a lot more of their interaction, but no, he's just, as soon as he walks in, I mean, we see him the first time we see him, he's kind of begging for his life, like, no, don't kill me. And then, but every time from that moment, even up to the time he dies, honestly, he's just chewing up all of the scenes. And he walks in and he tells Tywin, like, hey, if you don't know who you have, but this is what you have, and this is how you trap him, just so I can go on being a serial killer. Okay, I know he's not, I don't know if he was defined in the comics, right? But do you think he was Jack the Ripper? No, right?
He could be. I don't know if that's established in the comics, but yeah, it's established in the comics that he's the inspiration for serial killers.
Right.
Like, that's the thing that's like from the show into the
he makes comics,
like he inspires them, right? And in the comics, he roughly gets captured the same time period, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But they kind of skip a generation, right? Because it's now because the series originally came out in the late 80s, right? Versus where the 1920s, like people being alive in the 1920s was a more common occurrence than it is today,
right?
But I actually think one of the weaker episodes is the pilot. I actually think Charles Dance gives kind of like a low energy performance for Charles Dance in this episode. Yeah. I don't think he's like, because like theoretically
he becomes like the rich asshole.
He kind of becomes the rich asshole, but it's all very like muted, right? Like you know what I mean? Like he doesn't do the full like Tywin like stern angry dad, and then he doesn't do the full like I'm this over the top like fuckboy like rich magician, right? Like
Correct.
it's sort of just like this kind of like you
Maybe.
cast Charles Dance and this was
yeah,
it.
you just
like it didn't like it's the same thing I felt about like Christie as Lucifer, right? Like
wow.
yes, Charles Dance looks that role, but he just I think he's a much more talented actor than Christie is as well.
Right.
But like he just like didn't sell it to me. It's like it's fine, like fine, but just like I was expecting Charles Dance to like knock it out of the park, and he doesn't really.
Wow.
I think I liked the actor they cast as his son.
The young son,
the younger son. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought was pretty good at like kind of selling the sort of like awkwardness of the situation he's in.
Right.
And the trauma of like being like wanting to be better than your father, but kind of like trapped by the choices he made and the choices that society makes. Like, but you don't spend like, I think they probably, I would have appreciated they spent a little bit more time with him and his boyfriend, who they just kind of like find each other. Right. And then it's like, okay. And now it's got to end. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what they like.
Quick question. Do you think they were trying to move through, because again,
it's a long
bit, it's a lot of story. It's a lot of story.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I was going to ask, right? Do you think they were just trying to move as quickly as they could, but also not like they wanted to touch on certain points that, the fans would know, but they wanted to move through so that like people who haven't read it can enjoy the show, right? Because again,
I agree.
I feel like if you take the time to build out a lot of these characters, you will lose because the way people watch TV now, right? Yeah. And it is on Netflix, and you're binging. I feel like if you were waiting week to week, and they threw out the first 3 episodes, I think you could have done that.
I think they should have kept it as one episode. I just think where they put the emphasis is. I generally liked all of the pacing actually, except for one important thing, which I think won't be obvious. Like, so the Lyta stuff, like it makes sense that they brought her into Doll's house, right? Like, and combined her storyline with Rose's, and they become friends later in the comics. But not giving that storyline its own episode, I think was a mistake. Like now, and if you don't know anything about Sandman, sure, whatever. Lyta's this weird friend of Rose's who has a baby because of what was going on. Yes, but also like
there's a lot more.
There's a lot more that's going to be coming from that storyline. And not giving it its own episode, it's just weird. It's just like I was like, Lyta's here, okay, that makes sense. You want to have, and then it's
like she was just right. She was
like
just
her
there.
husband is she's just there, and then he's a ghost. Like the way it is done in the comics, but it makes more sense. Even if you strip out the DC Universe stuff, like makes much more sense than.
I mean, David Boyer is also one of the people that is involved. Listen, when I saw the name, I was so scared. Because I'm like, yo, Batman v Superman. But no, I feel like also having Neil Gaiman on the project, kind of like this is his baby. Like if there's anything like American Gods or whatever, Good Omens, but like this is his this is what made him, in my opinion. And I think
he's still cashing the check. Like no matter what bad decisions you think Neil Gaiman made in the sort of latter half of his career, and I think he's made some really bad ones.
Yes.
Like Sandman just like keeps like people like loving it, right?
It does
because it's so impactful.
Even so much that WB did have the Lucifer TV show for like a minute, and Netflix bought that and made it and finished it out. Like Constantine, you know what? I want to get to Constantine so
we can talk about Constantine, but I liked, but again, I didn't love the first episode. Right. I think was the second episode the Constantine episode? No. The second episode was the. Like where they figure out
the finish the kind of like the finish the closeout of the first episode, and then one thing
has the gargoyle thing, which that was upsetting. Very well done. I can't deal with dead animal stuff like that. That gets me.
That was kind of heartbreaking. Cain and Abel I thought Cain and Abel were fantastic.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah,
I thought I thought that. They're Cain and Abel, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of great. I liked seeing them together. But that's when he comes. He leaves the dream. He leaves the his little bubble, and he now starting to find his pieces together. Is like I think he starts off with the sand, and then he goes, and then finding the sand, mask, sand helmet, and Ruby. Which when we get to the Ruby, I thought that was
That
fantastic.
David Theus was the best part of the first half of the series.
Yes, the first 2 or 3 episodes, I think.
He was in the first 5.
Yeah. And I thought, he's again someone that was in Wonder Woman, and that wasn't great, but like he redeems.
But he was
like
great in obviously as Lupin, like which kind of like him as Lupin, and that Lupin like that comforting Lupin voice from Harry Potter, being like actually this like kind of insane
out of his mind
trouble Dr. I mean, he's Dr.
right, and I wouldn't even call him a villain. Like when I read it, he's someone you kind of feel bad for. Like
yes.
He's
definitely in the show too.
Yeah, also on the show because he's kind of a dickhead, but he's also one of the ones like, damn, like he was made to be this. Like I don't think like if his mom never stole the if she just ran away, right, and she never stole whatever she stole, what would he be? What would he become? Right, but he was given this ruby as a child, or he stole it because he knew what it was, and if you think about it, what he wanted to do, right, isn't like the most evil thing in the world.
Theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, like it's not. But like the resolution when Dream is like, people kind of lie to themselves to give themselves hope, right?
Yeah, and you need the stories you tell about yourself that are part lies, part true. Like it's a theme. It does a good job of like getting to some of the themes of Sandman.
Right.
And that episode was really good. Like
yes.
I think was probably as a episode of television was probably the strongest episode. Like a lot of the performances were like really good.
Are you talking about the diner?
The diner episode. Like just the guest stars
were
all really good.
Fantastic.
And, yeah. I think it was better than the comic. Like the comic was
and
good.
That's the thing. So good, right now we're looking at the Corinthian better character, and then that diner episode was because again it's super fleshed out, and things are happening and moving. I think that's why I would make it like I would agree with you and say it's better than the comic, because you're seeing things happen and it's a little more fleshed out. Like it's kind of better reading words, to be very honest. But yeah,
well, it's before we get there, but also like it's very wordy. That issue is like extremely wordy.
Yes, yes.
And the turning it purely individual, considering that versus the comic versus a lot of people, but like making it more visual, really does up it.
Yes,
it takes like a good. I mean, it's basically a good Dr. Destiny story featuring the Sandman into like a very excellent episode of television.
Yeah, because I think reading what's his name, the cook's name, telling Betty that, hey, I only come over to watch just because you cook.
And to fuck your son.
To fuck your son. Like looking at her like react to that in live action versus like reading it just makes it like just
like because that lady is an excellent actress. I hope
she sold everything. Yeah. She sold everything. But I want to talk about Constantine for a second.
God. I purposely skipped over that.
I know you did. But can we talk about how, like, I think WB says, hey, look, we want to use John Constantine, because I think that is who that's supposed to.
No, it is supposed to be John. I mean, there's an issue that it's basically the same issue with John with Constantine. But according to Gaiman, he made the change because he wanted to basically make an explicit and direct connection between Joanna Constantine in the 18th century to the probe, and instead of like, and because like one of the things early Sandman did, and this is like trade on a lot of the DC Universe stuff to like shortcut you caring about this stuff, right? The fact that like Dr. Destiny is one of the first villains, the fact that Lita and Hector Hall are intimately involved in the early, the fact that there's a Constantine issue is in the first like 3 issues of the series, right? It's like using the DC universe to like get you invested and then goes off in its own direction. Sometimes interacting with DC. Surprisingly, actually a decent amount. I got a huge argument with a friend about this, but like a surprising amount of like 90s DC continuity is kind of like weirdly tied into this. But they strip all that out, right?
Yes. 100%.
And so I didn't like the actress in a few episodes of Doctor Who that I saw her in, who plays Joanna Constantine, and I love John Constantine. Like he's one of my favorite characters.
100%.
I have zero problem with gender bending her, whatever term you want to use, into a woman. It doesn't bother me in the least. This actress I think sucked and did
Oh,
not
wow.
sell the character to me at
Oh,
all.
wow.
She's like, at
Okay,
all.
did she sell it in the 18? Was it 18 or was it 19?
She was okay. She was a little bit more in the 18th century, but like, I mean, I don't know. She didn't smoke. Like, I'm sorry. This is the things that like bother me. Like, I actually like the white coat, like as a different,
different look, right?
of his thing. But
Mhm.
she like,
You know, I thought honestly, I didn't read that. I thought it was a WB thing. Like, oh, we're gonna use John Constantine, so let's not do him in here. But it's also a thing where it actually doesn't. This version of Sandman does not interact. It doesn't feel. It's its own thing. It's not
its
a
own thing,
beast.
100%.
Yeah,
Even
and
the characters have the same names. Like again,
I
Lita.
kind of like that.
It's fine. Yeah,
I kind of like that. So
there's just some funny stuff like off-brand Arkham Asylum that D is in. Like,
yes.
It's like this is good. It's like okay, you know.
And then like the whole Constantine thing, but I mean, like, you know, I didn't care, but
didn't like the
like
actress.
you, I didn't. I was like, oh, it's Constantine, but that was it. I didn't. It happened.
Yeah,
that's it. Like that thing happened, and we're moving on. So he gets his sand.
I think one of the weaker episodes, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Correct. I'll agree with you. Goes to hell though, and this is where I think I disagree with you on this because I liked what's her name, Gwendolyn Christie. Yes, I liked her. I cared about her Lucifer. Hold on. First of all, I'm a Lucifer fan, right? I watched that show. I watched it all the way from Fox week to week, and then I watched it on Netflix. I'm a Lucifer fan. I liked her rendition of it, but again, it's super different because it's not a cop procedural anymore, right? It's it's the actual like Lucifer version of Lucifer, like it's as it's supposed to be. I think Anthony is one of the ones that hated the Netflix, the Fox TV shows.
It's different, but I love Lucifer from Sandman. I am also the person who read the entire Mike Carey series, and in some ways, I think like the Lucifer series, like is a little bit better than Sandman. Right. But because I like the themes that Lucifer deals with a little bit more than the themes about Sandman. But like I love Lucifer, and like, but I also have thought that Christie is kind of a one-note actor going back to Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
And so I was skeptical of her. Like I think she looks the part.
Correct.
Like
yes,
lot.
She does.
Visually, she's very striking as Lucifer. I just think like there's no charisma in her performance. I felt like you wouldn't like. I didn't believe that she is the person who like rebelled against God and got cast into hell. Like particularly like considering my affection for the character and how important the character is going to be at least for one more season. Right? It's just like I don't know. Like
wow.
I
thought she was fine. I mean, it was half an episode.
No, yeah, it wasn't
even less.
It might have been like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she sucked all the oxygen. Like I thought her battle with Dream,
right?
Like she didn't to me sell it.
True.
Right.
True. I mean, I can agree with you. I thought it was kind of lame, but not because it wasn't. I just thought it could have been better. That's the one thing I'm like, yo, I liked it better in the comics. Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool, and I thought she did her thing. Here's the difference is I liked her embodiment of the character. She 100% like looks and feels like that would, if Lucifer was real, that would be Lucifer in my opinion. And
I mean, she looks like a medieval painting of the devil. Like particularly the way they did her hair.
Yeah.
It's very like again, visually, I think they knocked it out of the park. But as soon as like you needed her to like interact with Morpheus or like sell it to me, like as like again, this is the person that rebelled against like heaven and is the most powerful creature of the multiverse minus like God, right?
Right.
And like the plotting arrogance that I think you need for Gaiman's Sandman, which will become very like his plan to like destroy Morpheus is I just don't think Christie sells any of that charisma to me. But again, I felt that way with her Brienne, who I thought was a good adaptation of Brienne, but like Brienne is also a one-note character. And
What about how did you feel about her
what else is she in it?
Star Wars?
Oh, she is. Oh my
Yeah.
god! As like off-brand Boba Fett. I don't know. She was fine. Like she's just forgettable. Like I was like, oh yeah, right.
Boba Fett is funny.
She's off-brand. She's like Boba Fett at home. She's Diet Boba Fett.
Oh
like,
my god!
She's
Boba Fett
made
was
to sell
Diet
toys.
Mandalorian. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like live action Boba Fett. The show is Diet Mandalorian because
Yeah.
he has the best episode. I finally watched it. By the way, he has the
Okay.
best episode on that.
But we should save that for when we talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about that when we talk about Andor.
Andor.
I do not want to let our usual thing get away from in Sandman.
Right.
But yeah, I also like this is like a very classic Sandman story. I felt the episode was somewhat weak. I think the Nada, that's how you say her name, right? Scene with Morpheus, his lover that he imprisoned in there was well done. It's an important moment to keep in mind. Folks who may have not read the comics, remember that scene. And I thought the episode was okay, but I just like it's supposed to climax to like the fracking devil is like there, and it's just like, okay,
right. Well, I think if the show does get a second season, I think we're gonna see a difference. I believe it's gonna, because second season, I think Lucifer becomes more of a presence.
Yes and no. What I was thinking about the comic, I was like, actually, Lucifer himself, does not like Lucifer's presence is felt, but as like an actual like character dream interaction.
Right.
It's actually not in that much.
It's
like
it's kind of weird.
It's weird, but it's good. It's like it's good in the sense that like you get the right amount of Lucifer in Sandman, right?
Right. I think it's like an Emperor Palpatine thing where it's like
it is
presence
like
is there, but like you don't really enter until episode 3.
Well, he is the best part of episode 3.
He is. And so I liked that. I liked Gwendolyn, and so moving forward, I think we kind of have talked a little bit about David, and good
episode blew me away.
Again, David knocks it out of the park. I think that episode was amazing, but I do think their battle. I thought was okay inside of the first. So he goes the Constantine thing, Lucifer thing. I think the best part of him recovering all of his powers or whatever, I think that was the better part of it, because you, for a second, if you haven't read it, you kind of don't know he wins at the end, but you kind of was like, whoa, does the Sandman lose?
Yeah,
and I think they did it really well.
I think so.
And visually amazing, like. Again, biggest fear, how are they going to capture the visuals? Will this look good? And it did. I think everything about that looked good. I think if we go back to the diner for a second, I love the red.
The red, again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's again the most artistically successful, I think, episode of the series of the first season.
It is.
Like it's just visually like lush. Like it's like scary, but not in like a gross way. I mean, it gets a little gross towards the end.
It does, yeah.
But like, it's not like a lot of the real like fear is much more like psychological.
Correct.
Than a way, and the actors again really sell it. The woman who played Beth, the woman who played the gay young woman, Merv, the couple, it's just like all of them just.
Yes, like, they all knock it out the park. I thought the couple. That was amazing. I think the CEO and her VP boyfriend or husband. I thought that was amazing. I thought they were amazing, and I thought that was pretty well done. Now, I think we can skip the rest of this and move to my favorite episode of the show. I think it didn't. The visuals here didn't matter. I think the death episode, gorgeous. Just not even like beautiful, the sets and everything. I just thought it was a fantastic episode. Again, I think death just well, this is also the episode where the internet discourse is kind of crazy.
I can only imagine. I mean, we had a little bit of it.
We did in the chat, and I was like, and there was a question. I'm on match. Did she need to be God? No. Like,
I mean, the question is like how. So it's actually a question of like what do you want from this adaptation? Like, do
Right.
you want a panel from panel adaptation, or do you want something that's like very faithful to the panels but tries to update it to 2022?
Correct.
And I think the way she's dressed
Mhm.
is like if Neil Gaiman was writing Sandman,
Right.
like was basically he'd be equivalent of a millennial, right? Because it's like writing about like I think that's what death would look like.
Correct.
Right? It's like because like goth culture is mostly gone. Like it's still there, but like it's not
still
as
there,
prominent.
yeah. Right.
But like and it's particularly not prominent among like young hip people the way it was
not anymore,
in the
yeah.
90s and early and late 80s. And like this like high-waisted jean, like young millennial, older Zoomer look that they gave that with the onk, like I was like, that's 2022 death.
Perfection. Yes,
it's
that is 2022 death.
Like you don't need the some of the stuff, and particularly and I know there's black goths and they want representation too, but like I think they update her.
Yeah, it's you're right, and it's not as prominent as say this was a 90s show. Like I think they would have made Death 100%. She would have looked just like every other goth chick out there. But I liked, and again, she was fantastic. You know what's funny? I was saving this for the show, right? How is it every time like you gender bend or you race bend, it's always, oh, why don't they just give it to the best actor? That's the argument I hear every time you do something like this. And it's funny because I've never heard, like, I was thinking about it. Michael Fassbender is not Jewish, but he played. You know what?
Yeah.
Moving on.
But no, I mean, I think this actress was like really excellent. She sold it.
Yeah.
And I hope she's deaf because that'd be pretty comforting if you
listen, if I saw her, I'm ready to go. Like the dude in the beginning, I think Mike, he was like, yo, let me get your number or something. Oh, I'll see you later.
I was like, ooh.
I totally hit on that. Like, what? Yeah, and I thought the episode was it was also kind of comforting. It's kind of crazy. It shouldn't, like, we're watching like the visual representation of death, right? And I'm like, this is kind of comforting, as it's supposed to be.
The strongest storyline in the first volume of Sandman. Like
it is.
I mean, all the appearances of death are, famously, like, I think the second Death miniseries is a little weaker, but like it made me excited. I was like, is Netflix going to pay to do what is it called, The High Cost of Living? I was like, I'd watch that. Like, I would
definitely 100% watch that. Like, I am kind of interested. Like, I honestly am interested. Like, when we get to this out, I think I'll drop that. And so, like, the other half of this episode is where he like,
Hob,
Hob, right? And I thought that was also good.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good, and the actor is good, and they sold it. I think they made it something that kind of got under my skin.
Go ahead.
Which was, so they kept the loyal. So one of the things about Hob, right, and they briefly mention it, right, is that he is a slave trader in the 17th century, and he kind of like, they don't like, and Dream's like, you shouldn't do that. That's like bad. Don't do that. Bro.
Right.
And they kind of briefly address it.
It was it was like 20 seconds.
It was like 20 seconds. I was like, you could have spent a minute on this.
You could have.
Like you should have. Like, it's like, if you're gonna keep, like, I appreciate that you kept this sketchy part of this character's backstory from the 90s, which, white people in the 90s could just like brush that off. But we're in 2022 now, right?
You should have definitely talked about it.
You should have dealt with it a little bit more. Like, as soon as you open that box, you can't just be like, it just annoyed me. Like, I liked that episode otherwise, but it got under my skin.
It did feel like, oh, we've talked about it now. Good, done. Like, and we did it. That's how it felt. We did it. Yeah, slave trade is bad. Moving on.
It's like, yes, we all agree with that, but like,
and that was the end of it. Yeah. That was kind of shitty. But I mean, you know what?
That's the only thing that bothered me about that whole sequence.
Right.
But it did kind of like overshadow it a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm. No, but I thought it was good. Even Joanna appearing in the episode, I thought it was better. I'll agree with you. Was better than her first time appearing on the show. I was like, oh, okay, she's back.
Well, it seems like she's having more fun with it in that sense. But then as like John, like being John, and like being the primary Constantine. Yes.
But again, I also think, I think Neil Gaiman's trying to line. I think WB's like, nah, we're definitely going to use John. So let's don't, because I think once you bring in John Constantine, once you make it John Constantine, then you have people thinking,
why isn't it Matt Ryan? That'd be number one reason why people would be like, why didn't you just bring Matt Ryan back? I mean, people are already doing that. as soon as they announced her.
So, but you don't want it to be a DC show. It's its own thing.
Right.
Once you bring Matt Ryan in, it becomes you open the DC window, which, you know what, that's fine. But
I thought the actress was having more fun in the role.
Yes,
as
when she was Joanna, like actual Joanna Constantine.
Yeah.
I thought she definitely like owned that a little bit more. I think so. I like that entire episode for me because it was a half death and then the rest of it was Hob. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good like palate cleanser too.
Yeah,
where it's like we're gonna shift to Doll's House now. Good,
right?
See, it's like okay,
yeah. And so we get to Rose's storyline, which I actually think this was as a big package story. I thought this was the better, like stronger, like there was no misses for me on this one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only miss is again, I think that the Lita and Hector stuff was rushed and it should have been given more room to breathe.
Correct. So maybe 12
I mean,
episodes?
it's hard to like. I'm trying to like keep it. It's just like. Well, it's not a huge spoiler. Like Lita is an important character in the Sandman stuff, and her child is important.
Her child, yes, which they do mention like for 30 seconds. They do,
which is true with the comic too, which is also like a 30-second. Like you're reading the first time, like oh okay, sure, and but and just like I just felt the mechanics of how they did that storyline just didn't work for me, and it also kind of that they weirdly gave part of that storyline as it is in the comics to Rose's brother, like where he's that like superhero like Sandman thing, which was cute. Like it was. But it's like it's like you like purposely like trying to annoy
I think
me.
Visually
like,
it plays better.
It does.
It does play better visually. It's cute, right?
It's cute,
and,
right? It's cute, and it changes that nightmare, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. Like seeing Galt go through that metamorphosis of damn, like I know I'm a nightmare, but like, ooh, I'm different now. I want to help this guy, like I want to. He's being abused, and it also and it shows Morpheus's growth, which is important. Like his growth,
important, but it's also like not. It's important.
You're trying super hard not to spoil it. I know.
Yeah, like it's like this is like it's a problem of they don't know if this is literally the only version of Sandman that ever comes out. Netflix is like this was too expensive. And it didn't make us enough money. Or Warner Brothers Discovery is like, we want this back.
We want this back, yeah.
And who knows what will happen with that? And then it'll go back into development hell. Who knows? Then yes, 100% the growth that Morpheus shows at the end of this makes perfect sense.
Correct.
And he does grow a little bit in the but it might be a little bit too much, right? Because like an important theme of Sandman is like, how much can someone change?
Right.
And what do you have to do to change?
That is the.
That and responsibilities, right? Like the you need like how do you like what changes your responsibilities or you, right? And these are like alongside what is a story, are all things that Sandman as a series cares a lot about, particularly Morpheus's character in particular cares about, right? And I think there's maybe like a little too much payoff of that at the end of this season,
which again,
for like my tastes,
right?
But that's just someone who's like constantly looking to the kindly ones.
But to your point, if this is all we get, and it goes back into development hell, it's amazing.
Yes,
it's
that
amazing.
I agree.
I agree with you on that. I 100% agree with you on that. But I want more. But now, like looking, because again, this is something that I never would have thought would happen. Never, because it should have happened in the 90s. It should have happened.
I'm glad it didn't happen in the 90s. I think it just.
It would look like Spawn, 100% look like that Spawn movie, and it would be terrible.
As far as Spawn aged okay.
All right, okay. I'll give you that. But like,
because in the 90s, they still had to do some practical effects.
Yes.
It's not those like early 2000s movies.
No, oh my god, and it was also supposed to happen in early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
which I'm glad it didn't happen then, because they were just. CG is it would be like that Wolverine movie.
Oh my god! Or Attack of the Clones.
Oh my god! It doesn't age well. It doesn't age well.
Like episode 1 aged well on a special effects level.
Right.
But the worst is Attack of the Clones. Like, but there's tons of others examples of that.
But that's crazy because that's the third one. She didn't have like. Is that
It's the second one?
Second one. It's the second one. It should have been better. Should have been better. But it wasn't. It wasn't. No. Okay. But yeah, like I think Rose's storyline was so strong. Again, hardly any misses. I think I loved the casting of Unity.
Yep.
Again, I wish I got more desire, but you know, again, just
I think
like a taste.
A taste, yeah.
And I was like, I need more now. Like I finished the show like, yo, only 10 episodes. Like, come on, give me like.
I will say it did make me. I mean, I'm already in my brain like I want them to go to the kindly ones. Like,
yes,
like, it's just like because I mean my two favorite Sandman stories are Kindly Ones and oh my god, Bridge Lives. And I'm like okay, like it's like if they keep basically this level of quality, like I'm like you just do the whole series. Like,
yeah, just do it. Might as well,
and
right?
it shouldn't take that many seasons, right? Like
no, like
4?
Like 4. Because if you're doing it the way you're doing it now, yeah,
right. Like because Seasons of Mist is
5.
not that long of a story.
Yeah,
like you could do like Seasons of Mist plus some of the short stories in one season,
right?
And then do the Game of You. Like Game of You is I think the Barbie one, and do like you could do that, and then some of the story. You know, like probably like 5 seasons.
5 seasons, yeah, and work with it. You know, while Neil Gaiman is still here, just have him like continue to EP the show, and
they're gonna need. I mean, they get one more year of Stranger Things.
Right, you need something, and I think this
and Witcher. They've got Witcher, you know, and they've got MAGA Gilmore Girls for the old white people, and
I hate that you keep saying that. Like you say that all the time, but yeah, they're Stranger Things is done, Ozark is done.
Yep.
Yeah, you need a couple more.
The Gray Man doesn't seem like it turned into a franchise.
Right, that was supposed to turn into a franchise, but it didn't. Or what? Who knows?
It was fine. I don't know why people hated on it so much. It's not like great, but it's also not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's kind of forgettable.
I mean, it's not that different than a Mission Impossible movie.
No, but it's not Tom Cruise.
I mean, Ryan Gosling was fine. It's like, oh yeah, this is the fight scenes by the guys who did a bunch of Avengers movies. Like I was like, oh yeah, like these guys, like they learned how. Like you can just feel the DNA of a Marvel fight scene.
It could also be. It could also be. What's his name? Captain America died in it, so no one cares to come back for it.
I mean, he did enjoy being a villain in that movie. You could tell.
He did. He had a good time. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but I if he somehow survived, I wouldn't mind seeing another like. What about the Rock movie with Ryan Reynolds? It's supposed to be.
I haven't seen. I actually haven't seen. I should watch that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it actually. We should.
That's one with Reynolds and Rock, right?
We should probably. So yeah, we should probably. I feel like it's bad.
I feel like it's bad too.
We should see it and talk about it. Like I feel like we should. Okay.
But back to this because I actually think that. So I agree with you. Like I think Rose was really good. I think for a kid actor, her brother was good.
Yeah, he was.
I think the casting of Lyta was really strong. She was good.
Yes.
Her like miscellaneous friends. They actually played Barbie. Didn't do much. So we'll see like whether or not she'll be good or not.
If they're gonna keep.
Because she get I mean it's not too big of a spoiler. Say she gets her own thing later. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I like the Doll's House storyline. Like I think they executed it really well. They made you care about the characters very quickly.
100%. Yes.
Really Corinthian just stole every scene he was in.
Oh my god. Fantastic.
I think that like the way they did I think they did a good job of like finding how to keep Morpheus in each episode, even if he's not actually important to what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is good because that's something you're gonna need to get really good at as writers as they go along. Because he tends to be like a background presence. And
a lot of in the series. Yeah. So yeah. I like Matthew.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, we didn't talk about Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt.
He was good.
Good. Surprisingly, like made me care about a bird.
Yeah, and they didn't have again, they didn't have the cheat right from the comics where he's the ex-husband of Swamp Thing's wife, who was a piece of crap in the comics, right? That gets reincarnated. So you had that like connection to Matthew before he becomes a Raven and changes, right? Like
becomes a good person,
a good bird,
being,
whatever.
yeah.
A being, right? And did you catch Mark Hamill as Pumpkinhead? Mark
That
Hamill,
was Mark.
That's Mark Hamill, yeah.
Yo, didn't know that. Didn't know that. But again, I think the casting for the show, the world that they built on the show is amazing. I think, again, if Netflix wants to compete in the day and age of a new Game of Thrones show, in the day and age of a Stitch was not a Stitch in Time, the Wheel of Time, and
the big thing
now
is Lord of the Rings. Like
Lord
if
of the
that
Rings.
lands,
If that lands, Netflix does kind of need to compete, because Marco Polo wasn't it.
Witcher is their big thing.
Witcher is big, but I feel like everyone has one or two of those things, right? Wheel of Time was good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right? And they're gonna probably put more money into that for the next season, if they do have a next season.
I think they said there's another season, right?
There you go.
I thought they filmed 2 seasons like back to back.
Back to back. HBO has.
Whoa, the big. I mean,
that name is probably going to bring people back. Knowing, like, I think people were mad about the end of season 8.
I mean, I'm still angry. So, like, I'm never gonna not be angry. Like the Hulk. The secret is I'm like always angry. Like about him.
You're
like,
right.
I'm just never gonna not be angry. Just like
Disney's just gonna keep giving you Star Wars and Marvel content. Like I don't think they're gonna put any more stock into anything other than Star Wars and Marvel content at this point on Disney Plus.
And kid stuff, but stuff good. So like,
I don't have kids, so
yeah, I agree.
mix me with
but
that.
Like of all of this like streaming platforms,
mm-hmm.
you know, depending on how much you just like watch their bullshit back catalog,
right?
Like, which, you know, like I do a lot of that on Amazon. Amazon has like a lot of stuff.
Yes,
my wife and I enjoy watching this, of various levels of quality. Like we want something good to watch. It's sometimes
Amazon. I think bad to watch. Bad. I think people say Netflix has a lot of bad content. I think Amazon has a lot.
Amazon has a lot of bad content, but for me, it's the kind of bad content I enjoy. Netflix doesn't have a lot of that, at least that I've experienced. As someone who's literally been in the dregs of Netflix, like good HBO,
they have spectacular Spider-Man, bro. Like
HBO has the best good. Like, of like movies, you just want to watch a good movie. HBO,
but then Warner Brothers is taking a lot of that off because no one is watching that. It's crazy, right?
Disney's the only one that, like, if I was like in a situation where I had to tighten my streaming budget, like the only one right now I would keep all the time is, you know, because I already pay for Prime because I use it, is Disney, because like it's not worth the effort of like 1 month not being subscribed to Disney and then coming back you know what I mean? Like if you enjoy Star Wars and Marvel and or you have kids, like you need like you
kind of do need, because I think Netflix is stopping. It's kind of putting a pause on their kid stuff. I mean, I did used to watch Camp Cretaceous. That's the Jurassic World show.
Okay, it was
but it's over now. Then they did have a Fast and Furious show. Like
they had a Fast and Furious show.
Yeah, they had it's like a 3D version. It's the exact. If you ever saw that Jurassic World show, Camp Cretaceous, which I thought was good for 5 seasons, like really good.
Oh, that's a long time.
Right. 12 episodes.
Damn.
Yeah. For a Netflix show.
I mean, Netflix, I think, is it Netflix or is it Paramount that's getting the new Avatar, like, animated movies? Is that Paramount or is that Netflix that's getting the...
Netflix, because they're getting the... that's a good question. Because Netflix is doing a live action adaptation, right?
Adaptation. But then there's what I'm actually excited for, which is the 3 new movies.
Right. Which I think those are Aang movies.
Aang, and then they're switching... they switch the order, so it's gonna Aang, which makes perfect sense. Like, because you want the first one to be guaranteed money,
fire,
and then they're doing Kyoshi as the second one, and then Korra as the third. Right. So I think it's smart that they switch, because they're originally gonna start with Kyoshi, because you don't want to be like, oh, it was okay.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you kind of want everyone to be like, oh my god, what's next? And Aang kind of
like adult Aang
is what everyone want. What? Because that's if you were watching if you were paying attention to Korra, they allude to a lot of adult Aang that you never see, and so it's like, oh, that's a thing, we need to see that. So yeah,
I will watch it. endless amounts of adult ang, and then Korra.
Right.
I mean, Korra's my girl. So
Yeah, I'm 100% Korra. Wait, is Korra still on Netflix?
is it? I don't know.
I think it is. Then
So,
I guess Netflix is one getting it.
Netflix, or no, let's go Avatar, and animated movies. New Avatar: The Last Airbender movies are coming. No, they walked away from Netflix.
Oh wow,
they're back with 3 animated movies, Paramount and Nickelodeon. So it's going to be on Paramount Plus.
I think so. It is on Paramount Plus. That's kind of crazy. That's crazy because they are spending money on a lot of things. They spend money on Halo. They're spending money on Star Trek. They're spending money on every. I feel like
Star Trek seems to be doing well for them.
Doing well, right? Halo got people watching it, even though a lot of people hate watching it. It did got
it works for Game of Thrones. Like most people were hate watching Game of Thrones by the end of it.
The last 2, I think I've never hate watched the show because I will really stop. If I feel like I have to hate watch a show, I'll stop. But I hate watch Game of Thrones because I was like, okay, it might get good, right? It might get good.
I had to see the ending, even though like from the 5th season, I was like, I just got to see the ending. Like the books are never coming out.
Once Jon Snow died, I thought that was, if you ask me, that's a perfect ending place. But whatever. I felt like there was too much capital you built into it to not follow through, right?
Same with Battlestar Galactica was like that for me.
Yeah. Oh my god, I haven't watched Caprica. That's crazy.
I haven't either. I have not rewatched that or Lost or Game of Thrones.
No,
I rewatch a lot of stuff.
I'm never rewatching Lost. I watched it one time, and certain shows one time is enough. Game of Thrones one time is enough. Like, actually, before season 7 and 8, I had a woman I was talking to at the time, who had never watched Game of Thrones, and I watched all 5 seasons again because the first 5 seasons, I think, best 5 seasons on television ever.
I think it's first 4 for me. It's up to when they kill what's his face, the red
John.
No, I think the season where they start killing John, they start jumping the shark because it has the characters I hate the least, or like Ramsey. I hate Show Ramsey so much. Like Joker, like we didn't, and he never goes away. Oh my god, I'm already reactivating.
Okay. You're back to Sandman.
Back to Sandman. All right, but I actually think Sandman has a couple of things that'll be interesting to see what they do.
Because I think Sandman has so much future potential, though. I'm with you.
But I think they kind of have a Walking Dead problem, like it's similar to Walking Dead, which is like you have this show, like Sandman at its core is mostly anthology, right? Like like Morpheus is like Lucien and like the dreaming supporting characters are in basically every volume. But like the human characters come and go,
yeah,
and a lot of them go for long periods of time. Like Rose, for example, right? In the comics, the next
Rose
volume she does not appear.
Yeah, she's gonna be gone for a while.
She briefly appears when they in the Barbie storyline, and then she comes back at the in a different one. But are they going to have the guts to do that?
I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is right now, given that Rose has the best storyline in this first season, I think Netflix is going to find a way to bring her back, and it's quicker than she should be. And
that's where I'm a little concerned.
But I listen. First season, if we never get another season, I think I'm very okay with everything that happened. I'm very okay with everything.
I think it's pretty satisfying as a standalone thing. But I finished this. I was like, yeah, like I was like, I want like Seasons of Mist. Sure, I was like, we'll see with Christy. But I mean, we get more death. Like you're gonna get like one or two major appearances of death every season. She's at the beginning of Seasons of Mist. Like she's always like kind of there. I'm interested to see like Delirium, who's the big because she will show up in the next season because she's briefly in Seasons of Mist. So it would be interesting to see what they do with her. I mean, did not like this version of Despair that's on the little background thing. Like, but again, I don't know if Despair is a character that can work in live action because
it's going to be a little difficult, a little taxing to see Despair, I think. But I think they could do it though. I think it's something where, again, this is how I see
dogs.
Right. this is Neil Gaiman's baby, and I think he's gonna do everything he can. Again, with American Gods, I think he just gave away too much power to stars, and I don't think he's gonna do that again. I think it's like, oh, I've learned my lesson from TV, because I think that was his first major TV.
I mean, yeah, he did some stuff for the BBC, but yeah, I think it was his first like big money American.
Major. Yeah. I think you learn your lesson after that, and you know, okay, I'm not gonna give away too much power, because he did EP the first season, and then the other one was just credits. So I think he's gonna cash those checks for forever. But like, I want to be involved and in a major way, and I think he was with everything on this one, and even the Amazon, the book. The audiobook, I think he was very involved in that too.
Yeah, I mean, that was his first. It's like, because he did that, he basically said, right, I did that because I didn't think the TV show was ever
right
happen. And you know, I'm not a big like those kind of audiobook production stuff, so I've never listened to it, but people who have,
that is really good. That is a solid product. It's great for audiobook. Like, it's funny to me, right? Because the star power in that, and it's on its own, is kind of a lot. So
I mean, people love Sandman, particularly people who were like reading in the 90s, right? Yes. So like a lot of people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s and older it's the thing. Like
it's for us. And I think I hope like it didn't just hit us. I hope it hits everyone, and Netflix is like, oh, this was great. Let's do more.
So too. Yeah. And I would be really like, I'd be really interested to see, because I think they went out of their way to try to make this as
set it up
as possible. I don't know if it was successful or not. Like, because I come in with so much
Comic-Con. It was huge. I think Sturge was in Comic-Con as Sandman, Morpheus. Yeah. So listen, I'm here for more of it, and I hope we get more of it. Thank you, Roy. I'm kind of
the dog.
Right.
I gotta go walk mine. So
right, it's 5:30. Thank you, Roy, for making the time. Hopefully, we'll get more Sandman news as the year goes, and we'll see what happens. But again, can't wait to
She-Hulk in a couple weeks.
I think I was about to say, I think in a couple weeks we'll see you back here for She-Hulk. See you then. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.